Odion had sold his soul for riches, much like the village elders had warned them of in childhood stories. The villagers called him the bad egg behind his back. One stormy night, Odion returned to Namuoba, claiming to have found success. He strutted into the village square, his expensive clothes clashing with the humility of his former life. His friends, Kobe, Itar, and Ibir, were puzzled but happy to see him, though Ibir, the quiet one, sensed something off. Over time, Odion began to convince his old friends to join him in his schemes. He lured Itar with promises of wealth, tempted Kobe with power, and promised Ibir unimaginable success. "The city holds treasures you can't imagine," Odion would say, eyes burning with ambition. But while Itar and Kobe hesitated, in the heart of Namuoba village, where the river met the sky in a shimmering dance, lived four childhood friends, Odion, Itar, Kobe, and Ibir. They were inseparable, bound by laughter and mischief, but among them, Odion carried a dark secret. While Itar, Kobe, and Ibir grew into honest, hard-working young men, Odion was different. He always craved more power, more wealth, more control. His eyes gleamed with envy as he watched his friends build lives filled with love and contentment in their small village. He had no interest in their simple lives. He wanted the city's lights, the noise, the fast life. And so, Odion left Namuoba one fateful night, disappearing into the city without a word. Years passed, and the city molded Odion into something monstrous. He became a man of great wealth, but it was tainted wealth. He engaged in shady dealings, betraying partners and even old friends. In the darkest corners of his heart, Odion had sold his soul for riches, much like the village elders had warned them of in childhood stories. The villagers called him the bad egg behind his back. One stormy night, Odion returned to Namuoba, claiming to have found success. He strutted into the village square, his expensive clothes clashing with the humility of his former life. His friends, Kobe, Itar, and Ibir, were puzzled but happy to see him, though Ibir, the quiet one, sensed something off. Over time, Odion began to convince his old friends to join him in his schemes. He lured Itar with promises of wealth, tempted Kobe with power, and promised Ibir unimaginable success. "The city holds treasures you can't imagine," Odion would say, eyes burning with ambition. But while Itar and Kobe hesitated, Ibir saw through the facade. He warned the others, "Beware of the bad egg that rolls in your basket. Its rot will spread." Ignoring Ibir's caution, Itar and Kobe agreed to follow Odion to the city. There, under the veil of night, Odion led them into a grand scheme, one that would ruin them all. The city, with all its noise and lights, soon turned on them. The law came crashing down, and in a twist of fate, Odion's betrayal was exposed. He had planned to sacrifice them to save himself. In the aftermath, Odion was left alone. His wealth stripped, his name cursed both in the city and the village. Kobe and Itar were imprisoned, broken by their friend's betrayal, while Ibir, who had stayed behind, mourned for the friends he had lost to the bad egg's poison. That night, Odion returned to Namuoba, hoping to hide from his enemies in the shadows of the village. But the land he had forsaken had its own justice. As he crossed the river near the village, the waters began to rise unnaturally. Odion stumbled, his once strong legs now weak from fear. The villagers had long whispered that the spirits of the river had little mercy for those with rotten souls. Suddenly, a voice, deep and foreboding, echoed from the riverbank. The wind howled, and the trees seemed to sway in rhythm with the anger of the land. The voice was his own, but it spoke from the bad egg that had festered inside him for so long. "I am the egg that carried your greed, your deceit, your lies," the voice whispered, trembling with regret. "You cracked me open with every wicked act, and now, I cannot be whole again." Odion collapsed to his knees, staring into the swirling water. The egg, his soul, his greed, seemed to float before him, pulsating with the weight of his sins. The spirits of the village gathered, their ancient wrath undeniable. "You have poisoned your own heart, Odion. A bad egg can never be restored, only destroyed," the egg said, as if it had a mind of its own, soliloquizing in deep sorrow. The river surged, pulling Odion into its depths. He clawed at the banks, but the spirits gave no mercy. As the water swallowed him whole, Odion's last breath was a curse upon himself, a final regret for the choices he made, the friends he betrayed, and the soul he had forsaken. In Amuoba, the skies cleared, and the village returned to its peaceful rhythm. Ibir, standing by the river's edge, whispered a prayer for his lost friends but knew the truth. The bad egg had met its rightful end, and the land had taken its vengeance. The wicked were always rewarded, in one way or another.